Hello, dear speakers. We are welcoming you from Yerevan, and our speakers today are from Mumbai, Raul John Aju, from Beirut, Peter Rafael, and Kampala, Emily Muveji. I'm sorry if I pronounce your surname wrongly. Thank you for joining. But before starting, I would like our speakers to introduce themselves a bit. Let's start from Raul, please.
I take sessions around the world. I am a four-time TEDx speaker. I have spoken in Google, basically about AI, future technology, metaverse, blockchain. I also create my own AI models. I fine-tune them, RAG them. So yeah, all those kind of stuff. AI stuff.
Thank you, Raul. Peter, please. Peter. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Seems like Peter is not responding. Emily, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm an 18-year-old student in A-level at Kampala Diplomatic International School. My interests are basically centered around healthcare and biotechnology and how we can use the different emerging technologies to improve that not only the quality of healthcare, but what we can achieve in the healthcare sector. So I'm so glad to be here to talk about AI as a topic and how we could change the world as a whole.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, dear panelists. As I see, most of us here are teens, and the motto of this conference is actually for teens by teens. And I think it would be relatable if we start from discussing AI, if it's actually usable for teenagers, for students. Mostly teenagers are students today. So the institutions today have very strict and very explicit policies regarding the use of AI. And sometimes they can categorically prohibit using AI. In fact, some of my professors even report to students when they detect usage of AI within their essays. Do you think this is correct or not? Because at the same time, I have professors who even encourage usage of AI, and even they say that, okay, if you cheated when writing your essay and you succeeded to conceal it, you did it great, means you learned it and it's not cheating. Do you agree or disagree with this? How can you explain that?
Well, what I feel is simply that, so I hope no professors and teachers are watching this, but what I feel is that you can use AI in your workflow, right? But to enhance it, yes, the first few years, you should know how to write an essay, you should know how to write a code. But after that, you should start using AI, because the person who doesn't use AI will obviously get ahead of you. He might do the same thing in 2 days that you might take 2 weeks to do. So that's my opinion on this.
Thank you, Raul. Emily, what do you think about this?
Yes, if you think about AI, it has a vast amount of information. And if we're talking about essay writing as an example, you would need a lot of information to come up with a very good essay. So if someone is using AI to get that exact information, maybe statistics or certain data that they want to use in their essay, then I wouldn't consider it cheating. But if someone goes ahead and says, AI, write this complete essay about maybe political state of the world currently, then of course that's cheating at the moment. But when it comes to how schools are using it and the strict policies that they have, I feel like we need to ease up on those kind of things, because if you look at Finland as an example, AI in schools is they're being taught how to use ChatGPT alongside their education. So if we brought AI into schools and actually taught people how to use it less as a form of teaching, but more as a form of teaching them how to solve problems by getting information quickly, then we could cut out that sense of cheating.
All right, but at the same time, essentially that means that the student is not the one who completes the homework. So AI, let's not talk about AI as something computer made, but like as some other expert or some other student, a person. So basically someone else wrote your homework, did your homework instead of you. Does that cheating or not?
That's cheating. But when, for example, your parent helps you, or if your teacher helps you and says, this is what you have to improve upon it, this is where you can improve, then obviously you can improve upon it. And I'm not saying the first few years you should not use AI. You should learn how to do it from the start. You should know the basics. But in the future, to be ahead of other people, you do need to start using AI, or you will be left behind in, the race. So, yes.
I agree with it. And moving to our next question, which actually relates to this one. So you use AI to learn, but with that, you forget how to learn basically. So you simplify your process of learning because, for example, our parents, the generation of our parents, in order to learn something, they had to dig the books, go to libraries, ask people, their teachers, their professors, I don't know, watch many programs in order to get something that today we can get within a matter of 5 minutes. So essentially, and that it's not only related to learning, essentially, when using AI means we forget many skills. So should we embrace AI, or maybe should we encourage the individuality of a person who uses AI? Well, potentially.
What I feel is that as such, when we learn stuff, we can learn it in different ways. Like you said some time ago, we need to go to the libraries, we had to find a specific word, then go and search for that, right? Now, before AI, we could just do a Google search. So obviously the way we learn things will keep on changing. Maybe in the future we don't even need to go to ChatGPT. Just think about it and you will get the answer in your mind. So obviously the way we learn stuff will change. That's for sure. Now, based on that, see, during the COVID time, a lot of people, including me, forgot how to learn stuff. So after that, I went to school. I didn't know how to learn stuff, right? So with the help of AI and Google and all those kind of stuff, I was able to learn back. Okay, this is how to learn stuff. This is how to understand concepts. So they actually helped me regain back the ability of learning stuff after whole the COVID period. So I feel the learning will obviously keep on changing. So it has to change. It has changed over the past few years. It's not just about AI.
Great. Thank you. And since Peter already joined us, I would like to ask the same question to him. Did you hear the question, Peter? Thank you for joining. Peter? Okay, seems like Peter cannot hear us. Emily, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, I 100% think we should embrace AI because if you look to the past, when calculators were coming in, everyone said that we are going to lose our ability to do basic math like long division. But having the calculator allowed us to embrace higher level forms of math. So if you think about this in the AI aspect, yes, we may lose a bit of skill, but it allows us to focus on more important skills like critical thinking. Because if we wanted AI to allow us to do certain things, we would have to prompt it to do that certain thing. And to have a good prompt, you would have to be able to think about that critically. So I think we should embrace it and allow people to use this as a way of learning because it would expose us to different kinds of information. So instead of going on Google and searching for a certain article and having to spend an hour or 2 hours reading 10 articles to get maybe 5 lines of information, you could get that information from AI in about 5 minutes and you get the same amount of information. Now, if we think about it in another aspect, as we mentioned, I'm very interested in quantum computing. And this is a field that I just got into because of how we could use it in drug discovery. But for us to be able to use quantum computing, we had to do coding, and I'm not very big on coding. So instead of me spending maybe a year learning how to code from scratch, I was able to just go to ChatGPT, get the lines of code, not just copying and pasting them, but ChatGPT was explaining to me, this line of code does this line of code does this, and I was able to learn quicker by doing, less more reading. So when we learn by doing and actually creating things, we can focus more on those skills and the output of what we are getting, other than the process of, taking a lot of time in learning, but still getting the skills that we need.
That's wonderful. So basically, you suggest using AI as some backup plan for support when you can simply simplify the process of finding information, right? Okay. So with that said, you mean AI understands, if we can call it so, when you prompt something, because you said you have to prompt it to perform a certain thing, a certain task. So does AI, okay, I will say it like this. So AI basically understands it, and the better you prompt it, the better answer you get. So is it smart, or it just does something that usually smart people do? Is it actually smart? Can we call it an AI smart?
Well, here's my opinion on that. AI is smart, not smart yet. It's just thinking through a lot of lines of codes and tokens and all those kind of stuff, right? But what I feel AI as such is just trying to replicate us. It's trying to replicate patterns. For example, when AI creates a picture, it's trying to replicate the picture in pixels, like picture of a how many pixels are there in a dog. So it creates the pixels of a dog. How many pixels are there? How does this pixel of a space looks like? So it tries to recreate that. So as such, what I feel is that AI is not smart. It's just trying to replicate us, at least for now. When we go into the age of AGI, ASI, they will be smart. But now they just appear to be smart. Now, on the topic of prompt, I feel before when we used to, write code and talk to computers, it was different. After that, we started, to use all these languages and, to talk to computers. Now we started to use prompts to talk to computers or machines or AI, artificial intelligence, right? So in the future, we might not even need prompt. In the next 10 years, prompt engineering might not even exist. What you might need is, for example, just natural language, just how you talk to like a normal human being. So yeah, that's what I feel because it's going to evolve over the time and it's not smart as us.
Test. मेरा मोदी side.
All right. So you say that it tries to replicate. Oh, Peter has joined us. I can see. Can you hear us, Peter?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, Peter. So here we're discussing if AI is smart or not. And as Raul said, it tries to replicate being smart, what intelligent people usually do. So what do you think about it? And if it replicates, why don't we call people who replicate, basically, if people in their learning process, in the development process, replicate what their parents, their friends, other people do, why do we call them smart but not AI?
Could you please repeat the question?
Sorry?
Could you please repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is, according to Raul, AI replicates what smart people do, and that is why it seems to be smart. If that is the case, why do people who replicate their parents in their development process, babies essentially, their friends, other people who they see on TV, everything, children replicate, learn by replicating. Why are they eventually considered smart but not AI?
There are multiple ways to consider what smart is. Smart isn't all about data or knowing things in general. So when we consider AI is just all the data collected, and it's like a form of Google in a way, but it's just different because it forms the results in human-like sentence. So when you compare this to, let's say, a human, AI isn't able to use critical thinking. It's not able to consider emotions and be open-minded to maybe change the response or in any way or form, while AI just gives you a straight response, and it just gives the response based on previous data that was collected by us humans.
All right. So essentially, you say that AI does what it's said to be done.
Yes, you could consider that.
Okay. But in some cases, especially when you ask ChatGPT, it relies on information from web. In some cases, not. But it's not asked to search the web. So it chooses by itself. So if such features, if such functionality, similar functionality, uh, they added more, the developers of ChatGPT or similar AIs, essentially that would become a more sophisticated, more advanced AI. Well, similar to what we have in humans.
Modern AIs still can't think like us. They just rely on data that was collected by humans themselves. So AI, we can't consider it smart because it depends on us and it cannot collect its own data. It can only collect our data and maybe formulate a response based on multiple sources.
Other participants, what do you think about this?
I kind of disagree to that. What I feel is that even humans, learn from stuff from the time they were a child. They see other people and they learn themselves too, right? Just like an AI. We also to AI, we only give the information. To other humans from the time they were born, we only give the information. So the data provided is the same place. But here is where the difference is. The difference is particularly on how much things that they can think at the same time. Well, our servers and computers are not capable of thinking the same way, while our mind are capable of thinking much more heavier and smarter stuff. But from on the other side, AI, our servers are not capable at all for doing that. So yeah, that's what I feel. That's what kind of defines smart. How many things are you able to think at a time? It's not just about patterns. Smartness is kind of patterns, but the more patterns you think, the more things you have seen from your childhood, the more data you have, the more better you can predict what comes after. So yeah, that's what I feel.
So, okay, that's very interesting idea. Okay, so I'd like to ask specifically, Raul, since you have already experience with legal AI, do you think that it is ethical to use legal AI in legal aspect? Because sometimes, well, it can replicate its own, not its own ideas, but the ideas that it's being trained on into the cases, and if that is ethical or not.
Here's my opinion on that. Like my AI about Nyaya Sati, what I did with that, because it's legal, you can't have any risk of it kind of telling a wrong information, right? It can't just say a random thing. So what I did with that, I talked to a lot of police officers, the law minister of my state and countries and all. So what I did with them, I got a lot of information from police officers and the internet, which are publicly available. I trained it to it using fine tuning and a new method. So fine tuning is how we can teach it on how to talk to people. For example, you might use complex word with lawyers, but with common people, you might use simpler words, right? So with that help of RAG, retrieval augmented generation, I was able to teach it information that normally it would, hypnotize about it, and it will give you the wrong information. So in short, we can use new techniques and give more data about specifically law and stuff, so it doesn't, give wrong information. The chances of it giving wrong information is less. And obviously, the bot I created is not to replace lawyers. Just so any lawyers are watching this, but in short, we are trying to act as an Uber to connect people and lawyers in between. That's Nyaya Sati. So in case if it gets something wrong in its advice, we will connect to our board of lawyers that are there with us. So because we can't fully ever rely on AI, that's what I've been trying to say. We always need a human touch.
Very interesting. So we need human touch just to ensure that we're in scope of ethical. Great. And since we have very little time left, I would like to ask to all our panelists the last question. So in philosophy of mind, we have this term called autophenomenology. It's when you rely on subjective data in order to gain more data. For example, if you ask a person, are you happy? Most of the time they will say yes or no by knowing their state. So can we do the same with AI? For example, can we ask, I don't know, the best model today, probably the reasoning models, the chain of thoughts reasoning models. For example, are you smart enough to do architecture, to be an architect?
Well, I feel this has already been done. So, DeepSeek AI by China was using reinforcement learning, right? For example, we asked it went to ChatGPT, it asked it a lot of questions, and with that data, it trained itself. Apparently, it's speculations, but we are pretty sure that it did that because DeepSeek says, I am ChatGPT in some of its responses. So, we know how it got their data, right? So by
Mhm.
doing this, they kind of went to ChatGPT, learned from them, like for example, learning being an architect, let's say an example, and taught another model, a newer model, on what the other model knew, including the bias, everything, including being an architect or anything. So yeah, I feel that is totally possible even now and in the future. Taking data not just as data sets, but as from another model directly. It's like asking another human being about their information, and then the same answer I'm repeating to someone else. Like imagine I'm just saying the answers right now, which I'm asking ChatGPT, and I'm saying it out loud. That won't be fair, right? So that's the same thing happening there. It's known as reinforcement learning.
Great. And
Yeah, I think going off of Raul's point, I don't think, as much as AI is able to reason, I don't think AI knows what kind of depth it would go to, because that would take us to the AGI part of it, which is artificial general intelligence, where it would be able to feel things like humans, speak like humans, connect as humans. But at the moment with the AI we have now, like ChatGPT, it's solely based on the information that it has and the information that's available on the web. So it's not able to, let me say, completely give us an architecture design that would work effectively. As Raul said again, we would have to have that human aspect into it and make sure that those designs are accurate and correct before we can fully give AI the ability to, lead by itself, because we're not yet at that point. We would have to get to the AGI point for AI to be able to, live by itself and make its own decisions.
great.
So I would like to answer the question. So as I previously said, I don't think we can consider AI as smart because it only relies on information that was collected and built by humans ourselves. In the scenario where maybe AI were to lead and work as like an architecture, I don't. I think it's completely possible only if humans provide enough data and information for the AI to use, because many humans prefer some type of living or like a different type of style, And I don't think AI can really determine what a specific human wants unless we give the data. So I think it's totally possible in the future, but I think we need some sort of surveillance or some person to kind of lead the AI in the right direction.
Great. Thank you very much for answering this very philosophical question. So our time is up. Thank you very much, dear panelists.
Thank
And
you for calling me and giving us all a chance.
so with this being said, I would like to welcome Beirut as their next opening. Yep, that's it. Thank you.